Hi everybody, hope you're doing marvelously well. So, if you look behind me, you'll see a severe lack of speakers on the console here. Well, that is because we're going to try out a recently, well, I think today, updated version of the Kali IN-8s. The IN-8s are the dual concentric speakers, or as they're more commonly known, at least in America and many other places I'm sure, coaxial speakers. So what people love about those, of course, is you've got the main driver there and then you've got the tweeter on the inside. And what this allows you to do is have supposedly perfect phase relationship. Now, I'm not going to get into the ins and outs of that. All I know is that they sound really, really good. And the IN-8s have sold like hotcakes. So what have they done? They've improved them. But first of all, before we talk about that, why don't we get them up on the console? Okay, so here they are. Eric has very kindly got them already out of the cardboard boxes to make my life a little bit easier, because they do actually come with boxes around the boxes, so they are well packed. For those of you that are going to buy them, I assure you these were delivered exactly the same way. Okay. Lateral thinking. Okay. There's a quick start guide here. Oh, I see. So they're saying the IN series can also go on its side. Very nice indeed. I'm sure you know the LP6s, which are their entry model speakers, I think are close to being some of the best selling monitors in the world. They're really inexpensive and sound absolutely incredible. So these are obviously like a step up. I mean, this is the sort of flagship model that they make because they have the 5-inch coaxial speakers. They have the LP8s, which is the two-way. Well, these, as you can see, are 3-way speakers. And we have the IN-5s and we love them. So I'm very excited to hear these. So there they are. All rather lovely. So I'm quite excited to hear them. On the back, as per usual, you've got this little system here. Depending on how the speakers are mounted, which in this case is going to be on top of the console, you set these little dip switches here. Say dip switch with keep a straight face. So set them here and it will basically provide EQ to compensate for the fact that, frankly, a console affects the way you hear these things. I get a dip at about 100, 110 from a console, and that's quite typical. And quite often we'll run different softwares like SonarWorks, or in the case of the Genelecs, they come with their own smart system. There you go. Depending on how you set it up, you can have different settings. We're going to put them up vertically, and we're going to have that setting there. So we're going to start like that. There's also boosts here, as you can see, plus or minus 2 dB at the low end and the high end. We'll keep it flat. We'll listen to these flat. There's also a volume control here. We will keep it at 0, but of course you can boost or cut from there. They're very well built. They're very affordable. I think a pair of these is $798, which for a really good sounding 3-way monitor is pretty remarkable. So the speakers are up. What we decided to do was put them in the ultimate listening position. So we're going to have the nice equilateral triangle. My head will be here and I'll be listening. But before we get into that, let's just talk about what they've done to improve them. They've got entirely new amps in them, which has improved the noise or lowered the noise by 12 dB. So not that, frankly, I ever thought they were noisy, but they decided to improve the amps. It's also very noteworthy to say that they improved the DSP. It's significantly more powerful, and the tuning on the new version makes them sound smoother, apparently, we're going to find out, particularly in the top end, which again is good news, but I'll be honest, I never found them particularly offensive in the high end. I always thought they were quite smooth, so I'm excited to hear them. They've also changed the boundary EQ with the wall mount and the console bridge horizontal settings, because they didn't have the horizontal ones before. So it now means you can flip them around and do them like horizontally if you want. I'm going to keep them vertically. I think that's what I'm used to. My Genelecs are usually there. It's my typical thing. I usually have the smaller Callies in the middle for extra listening. So, you know, that's for people that want to flip them on their sides. So also the new transducers are lighter, which I presume would make them more responsive. What do I know? I'm not an engineer. But with the upgrades to the amp, apparently there's a lot lower distortion. And they're saying they improved the manufacturing process, basically taking everything that they've learned so far and built a more reliable cabinet. Again, what I like about this, quite frankly, as a fan of a company that makes inexpensive, great speakers, which is Callie, I'm a fan of the fact that they went back and improved something which didn't stop them from selling bucket loads. Isn't that sort of like that, you know, the anti-normal what companies do? They usually make something, they sell tons, and they figure out how to maximize profits. So I am impressed that they've spent this time and energy to improve a product that already was selling really well. So now I suppose the proof of the pudding is in the eating. Let's give it a listen and see how they sound. We've got a selection of tracks that we recorded here and mixed here. So even though you may not be familiar with them, I am familiar with them. And I'm also familiar with them sitting here in this room, just here. So this is going to be quite revealing. Now it's kind of speaker week. I've got some other speakers coming up this week as well. So like I said, I'm a big fan of this company making affordable, good sounding speakers. And with the three-way speakers at this price point, I don't know if there's much better. So let's check it out. We're going to start off with a song that we recorded live with Jonas Smith at Sunset Sound. So there's a lot of depth. This is just off the console. Nice low end, really nice low end on the kick. I was lost. Really nice on the vocal. Get some depth. I was tired. That is Sunset Sound's plate. These are really good. Let's go to something really dense. This is Katie Laurel's Hurricane, or as they would say in America, Hurricane. Really good, really even in the low end, because that track is super rumbly down there. I've got, you know, I was doing a very retro sound on that, and I feel like, you know, the low end isn't as pop as it could be. But if it was more even and more pop, I think it wouldn't sound as retro. So anyway, let's find something, speaking of that, maybe a little bit more mixed. And I think for that, we'll go to Little Empire Bullet, because this is a combination of live drums with programmed. There's a lot more mixing in this, a lot more compression, EQ, and it's more limited as well. I'm not a killer. I've been caught by your lovesick drive. I agree with the high mids. It's not overly aggressive at all. And I can barely breathe. It's so hard, my heart skips. Don't open my eyes. The battle is done, and I think that you won. Don't open. Now, there's another video coming up with some very expensive speakers, which I've just purchased. And the thing I loved about those very expensive speakers I just purchased were the fact that the high mids on this song, when I was listening, I realized I hadn't quite got them right. I was going back through some old mixes, and I was listening to one particular mix that I did with Trevor Hall. And that mix is like my favorite mix I've ever done, quite frankly. And it still sounded really good on the expensive speakers, but a couple of songs, this one in particular, used to sound great on the old Genelecs, but on the new speakers that I got, it didn't sound as impressive in the high mids. And I'm getting a similar feeling with this. Like I would remix this song. So that's a good sign. It's basically these speakers are responding in a similar way to much more expensive speakers, which is what we've always loved about Kali products, is they always outperform in their price range. So a new improved amp, new improved speakers, lower self-noise, apparently a little louder as well. I think it's a couple of dB louder than they were before, which is always not a bad thing. And at this price point, I don't know if there's really anybody that can compete at $798 a pair. For a three-way speaker, a really good three-way, ready to go, power amp built in. So the great thing is, of course, is that Kali very generously are giving us 3 pairs to give away. Now, if you're watching this on the Monday, just to warn you, they're just going into stores today. So if you win them, you won't probably get them delivered for a couple of months because they're only delivering them now. But please enter to win. Thank you ever so much, Kali, for giving us these speakers to listen to. And yeah, have a marvelous time recording and mixing. And please, just for me, let me know, what do you use? Do you already use Kali's? Are you using Adams? Are you using Genelecs? What speakers do you use? And how do you find them? Are you thinking of changing? I'd love to have a good discussion about speakers because I've got a little bit of an obsession with them, as you can probably tell. And yeah, enter to win. Have a marvelous time recording and mixing. See you all again very soon. So long, farewell, auf Wiedersehen, au revoir, adios, adio, tschüss, goodbye.